You know what the worst part about being stranded on an alien space station is? Marcus asked the empty corridor, his voice echoing off the pristine white walls. The complete lack of decent coffee. I mean, seriously, you'd think an advanced civilization could figure out how to make a proper espresso. He limped down the hallway, leaving small droplets of red blood in his wake. The wound in his side had mostly clotted, thanks to the emergency medical nanites he'd found in what appeared to be their equivalent of an infirmary. At least that part of alien technology lived up to the hype. Oh wait, no. I take that back. He continued his one-sided conversation. The worst part is definitely the fact that they left me here to die after using me as their little lab rat. The coffee thing is probably second or third on the list. The Azaxi, as they called themselves, had picked him up 3 months ago while he was on a routine maintenance mission for the International Space Station. They'd seemed friendly enough at first, all tentacles and glowing bioluminescent patches and eager scientific curiosity about humanity. Too eager, as it turned out. Marcus reached the central control room and settled into what he'd dubbed the captain's chair, though it was really more of a semi-organic pod that conformed to his body in a way that was simultaneously comfortable and deeply unsettling. The holographic displays sprang to life around him, a symphony of alien characters and diagrams that had taken him weeks to begin deciphering. "Computer," he said, then laughed darkly. "Sorry, force of habit. Hey, you, whatever you are." The station's AI flickered to life, manifesting as a shifting pattern of light. "Show me the status of Project Entropy again." The display changed, showing a complex series of calculations and simulations. Marcus had discovered the project files buried deep in the station's database, and what he'd found had chilled him to his core. The Azaxi weren't just studying humanity, they were studying how to efficiently eliminate them. "You know," he mused, fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "For a species that's supposedly so advanced, they really should have been more careful about leaving their weapons research accessible. Or maybe they just never imagined their test subject would be smart enough to understand it." The past 2 months had been a crash course in alien technology, driven by equal parts desperation and rage. Marcus had always been good with systems. It's why NASA had hired him in the first place. But this was different. This was survival and revenge. Let's see. Containment fields at maximum capacity, check. Emergency protocols disabled, check. Quantum cascade initiator primed. He paused, allowing himself a grim smile. Check. The station hummed around him, its systems responding to his commands. It had taken countless hours of trial and error, but he'd finally managed to turn their own research against them. The Azaxi had designed the station to be a test bed for their weapons technology. Now it would become the ultimate proof that humanity wasn't to be trifled with. A soft chime indicated an incoming transmission. "Right on schedule. This is science vessel Axanar, returning to station Z419, came the familiar warbling voice of the Azaxi commander. "Prepare for docking procedures." Marcus straightened in his chair, ignoring the twinge of pain from his healing wound. "Welcome back," he transmitted, using their own communication protocols. "Docking procedures initiated." He watched on the monitors as the sleek alien ship approached. It was beautiful, in its own way, all organic curves and pulsing lights. The same ship that had abducted him, that had brought him to this place of pain and revelation. "You know what the really funny thing is?" he asked the empty control room. "They probably think they're being merciful. Oh, let's just leave the primitive human to die alone instead of killing him outright. Such an advanced ethical decision." His impression of their warbling speech patterns was terrible, but it made him feel better. The ship was almost at the docking port now. Marcus's fingers hovered over the controls, waiting for the perfect moment. He'd only get one shot at this. "Hey, computer, or whatever you are, can you record a message for me? I want to make sure they understand exactly what happened here." The AI pulsed in acknowledgement, and Marcus cleared his throat. "Dear Azaxi science team, you know how humans have this saying about karma? No, of course you don't. Well, let me educate you. It means what goes around, comes around. And sometimes, what comes around is your own experimental quantum cascade weapon, reprogrammed to target your specific biological signatures. Hope those tests you ran on me were worth it." The ship's docking clamps engaged with a satisfying thunk that Marcus felt through the station's structure. He could imagine them in there, preparing for their triumphant return, probably ready to analyze all the fascinating data from their deceased human subject. "Initiating quantum cascade sequence," he announced to no one in particular. "And may I just say, humanity, fuck yeah." The weapon activated with surprising quietness. There was no explosion, no dramatic light show, just a subtle ripple in space-time that his human eyes could barely perceive. But he could see the effects on his monitors as the carefully targeted quantum field began to do its work. The Azaxi ship's systems went dark first. Then came the frantic emergency transmissions, cut off mid-warble. The cascade spread through the station itself, harmless to human biology but devastating to the semi-organic technology the Azaxi relied on. In less than 5 minutes, it would reach their nearest outpost. Marcus leaned back in his chair and pulled out the last protein bar from his dwindling supplies. I should probably feel bad about this, he mused. But then I remember all those tests, all those times they acted like I was just some interesting specimen, and somehow I just don't. He had already transmitted a distress signal to Earth using a jury-rigged communications array. Whether anyone would pick it up was another question. But he had supplies for another month at least. And now, thanks to his modifications, he had a pretty impressive bargaining chip for whenever humanity made first official contact with the wider galactic community. Note to future alien species, he said through a mouthful of protein bar. Maybe don't kidnap humans for experiments. We tend to take that personally, and we're really good at turning your stuff against you. The station's systems were starting to fail now, the organic components withering under the quantum cascade. But the core systems, the ones Marcus had carefully isolated and modified, would keep running. He had made sure of that. Computer? Sorry, force of habit again. Show me the cascade's spread pattern. The display showed a steadily expanding sphere of influence, spreading through the Azaxi network of bases and outposts. Not enough to cripple their civilization, but more than enough to destroy their entire weapons research division, and make them think very, very carefully about ever approaching Earth again. You know what the best part about being stranded on an alien space station is? Marcus asked the dying AI. The look on their faces when they realized their test subject had outsmarted them. Well, I imagine that's what it would have looked like, if they had faces. Kind of hard to tell with all the tentacles. He pulled up the station's star charts, already planning his next steps. The Azaxi weren't the only species out there, and now he had proof that humanity could hold its own among the stars. More than that, he had their technology, or at least the parts of it he'd managed to understand and modify. I think, he said thoughtfully, this might be the beginning of a beautiful friendship between humanity and the galactic community, whether they like it or not. The stars twinkled back at him through the station's viewport, silent witnesses to humanity's first major victory in interstellar politics. Marcus smiled and began composing his report for when rescue finally arrived. It would make one hell of a story. Oh, and one more thing, he added to his recording. If anyone's thinking of coming to check on their weapons research station, I'd give it about 100 years for the quantum radiation to die down. Maybe 200, just to be safe. We humans like to be thorough. With that, he settled in to wait, surrounded by the dying remnants of alien technology and the quiet satisfaction of a job well done. The universe, he decided, had no idea what it was in for once humanity really got started. And somewhere in the distance, the quantum cascade continued to spread, carrying with it a very clear message: don't mess with Earth. Day 47 post-revenge, Marcus announced to his makeshift log recorder. Still no sign of rescue, but on the bright side, I've figured out how to make the food synthesizer produce something that tastes almost, but not quite, entirely unlike coffee. He stood at the viewport of the repurposed alien station, watching the quantum cascade's effects ripple through space like invisible waves on a cosmic ocean. The Azaxi networks were going dark one by one, their bioorganic technology crumbling under the precisely targeted attack. Also, he continued, I think I might have accidentally started an interstellar incident, beyond the whole weaponizing their research station thing. The incident in question had occurred 3 days ago when an unknown alien vessel, definitely not Azaxi in design, had approached the station. Instead of running away from the obvious quantum disturbance, they'd seemed fascinated by it. Marcus had observed their careful probing of the cascade field's boundaries with a mixture of professional admiration and growing concern. Computer, damn it, still doing that. Show me the visitor's scan results again. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a detailed analysis of the alien ship. Unlike the organic technology of the Azaxi, this vessel appeared to be purely mechanical, all sharp angles and efficient design. Its energy readings suggested a level of technological advancement that made Marcus both excited and nervous. They're called the Meridian, he explained to his log. At least that's my best translation of the identification signal they've been broadcasting. They seem to have a particular interest in how I modified the quantum cascade to target specific biological signatures. He paused, taking a sip from his almost coffee. I probably shouldn't have sent them those technical specifications, but honestly, Anyone who can appreciate a good piece of revenge engineering deserves at least a little professional courtesy. The Meridian ship had maintained its position just outside the Cascades range for the past 3 days, occasionally sending bursts of data that Marcus's jury-rigged translation software was slowly decoding. From what he could tell, they were impressed. Very impressed. Turns out, he continued, pacing the control room, the Azaxi have been a bit of a problem for more species than just humanity. The Meridian have been looking for a way to counter their bioorganic technology for centuries. And here I come along and figure it out in 2 months of desperate tinkering. A soft chime indicated another incoming transmission from the Meridian vessel. Marcus pulled up the decoded message and couldn't help but laugh. "They're offering me a job," he announced to his log. "Or at least, I think it's a job offer. Might be a marriage proposal." The translation's still a bit shaky on the cultural context. Either way, they want to know if I'd be interested in helping them develop countermeasures against aggressive organic technological expansion. He settled into his modified command pod, fingers dancing across the holographic controls as he composed a response. "You know, this could actually work out pretty well for Earth. We get some advanced allies, technology exchange, protection against the Azaxi." He paused, assuming, of course, that anyone from Earth ever comes to get me. The station's systems hummed around him, now a familiar symphony of human ingenuity merged with alien technology. He'd modified so much of it that he doubted the Azaxi would even recognize their own station anymore. The quantum cascade generator had been just the beginning. "Oh, that reminds me," he said, making a note in his log. "Need to document the improvements I made to their shield systems. Turns out you can increase efficiency by about 300% if you stop trying to make the energy fields compatible with bioorganic interfaces. Who knew?" Another transmission from the Meridian ship appeared on his display. This one contained detailed technical specifications for their own shielding technology, offered freely as a gesture of good faith. Marcus whistled as he scrolled through the data. "Now that's interesting," he muttered. "They've solved the phase variance issue in a completely different way. If I combine this with the modified Azaxi quantum field mechanics..." He was so absorbed in the technical details that he almost missed the alert from his long-range sensors. "Almost. Well, he said, straightening in his chair. "What do we have here?" A fleet of ships had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Their design was organic, but notably different from the Azaxi style. More crystalline, less tentacly. "New players entering the game," Marcus announced to his log. "And judging by their energy signatures, they're not here for a friendly chat." He paused, then added, "Good thing I've spent the last week turning this station into the most heavily armed research facility in this sector of space." The Meridian ship was already moving to a defensive position, its sensors clearly having detected the same threat. A new transmission appeared on Marcus's display. "Drachnid Battlefleet. Known associates of the Azaxi. Recommend immediate defensive preparations." "Drachnid," Marcus repeated, testing the word. "You know, for a species I've never heard of, they sure brought a lot of ships." He cracked his knuckles and began powering up the station's modified weapons systems. "Let's see how they handle some human innovations." The incoming fleet spread out in a classic attack formation, their crystalline ships glittering ominously in the starlight. Marcus couldn't help but admire their tactical positioning, right up until he noticed their fatal mistake. "They're assuming the quantum cascade field is a sphere," he said with a grin. "Nobody ever expects the Klein bottle configuration." He opened a channel to the Meridian ship. "You might want to watch this," he transmitted. "I've been wanting to test these modifications in actual combat conditions." The station's new weapons powered up with a satisfying hum, quantum fields interacting with modified shield harmonics in ways that would have made his old physics professors have nervous breakdowns. Marcus had spent weeks testing and refining the systems, but this would be their first real combat trial. "You know what the really interesting thing about quantum mechanics is?" he asked his log as the Drachnid fleet moved into range. "Everything's connected. Sort of like how the Azaxi's quantum cascade weapon was connected to their bioorganic technology, and how the Drachnid ships seem to use a very similar crystalline organic hybrid system." He pressed a series of commands, and the station's quantum fields began to shift and pulse in complex patterns. Let's see if they appreciate the irony of being defeated by the same basic principles they were going to use against Earth. The battle that followed would later be described in various alien historical records as brief but educational. The Drachnid fleet's crystalline ships began to resonate with the modified quantum fields, their organic components failing in cascading patterns that spread from ship to ship like a technological virus. I almost feel bad about this, Marcus commented as he watched the fleet's formations break apart. Almost, but not quite. Maybe next time they'll think twice about working with species that kidnap and experiment on other sentient beings. The Meridian ship transmitted again, this time with what his translation software interpreted as a mixture of awe and professional respect. They had already begun documenting the battle for their tactical databases. "Oh, you like that?" Marcus responded. "Wait until you see what happens when I inverse the quantum field harmonics. I call this one the Humanity Special. It's when we take your own technology and make it do things you never even imagined possible." As the remaining Drachnid ships retreated in disarray, Marcus began composing a new entry in his log. Day 47, Addendum. Successfully defended the station against hostile forces, made some new friends, and possibly revolutionized quantum warfare. Not bad for a Wednesday. He leaned back in his command pod, watching the last traces of the quantum cascade ripple through space. "You know what the best part about being stranded on an alien space station is?" he asked his log. "The networking opportunities are amazing." The Meridian ship transmitted another message, this one containing what appeared to be detailed star charts and hyperspace route calculations. Marcus's translation software worked overtime trying to decode the complex technical specifications. "Well," he said, studying the data, "looks like my new friends want to introduce me to something called the Galactic Defense Coalition. Apparently they're very interested in discussing humanity's potential contribution to interstellar security." He began composing a response, then paused. "I should probably wait for actual diplomatic channels to be established before accepting any formal positions. On the other hand," he glanced at the battle debris still floating outside the station, "Earth could probably use some friends out here." The station's systems hummed contentedly around him, a symphony of human ingenuity and alien technology working in perfect harmony. Marcus pulled up the station's star charts again, already planning modifications to incorporate the Meridian's hyperspace calculations. "Computer. And yes, I'm still calling you that. Begin recording formal first contact protocols. I think it's time we started preparing for humanity's official entrance into galactic politics." He looked out at the stars, imagining Earth's future among them. "And maybe," he added with a smile, "we can finally teach these advanced civilizations how to make a proper cup of coffee." The quantum fields pulsed silently around the station, a testament to human adaptability and the universal truth that would soon spread throughout the galaxy. Never underestimate a species that can turn your own technology against you, especially if that species is humanity. "Official diplomatic log, Galactic Standard Date 47.3, Marcus announced, adjusting his makeshift uniform. "First formal meeting with the Meridian Defense Council about to commence. And yes, I made a uniform. 3 months alone on a space station does things to a person's sense of propriety." The holographic conference room he'd constructed using modified Azaxi technology hummed to life around him, creating a seamless virtual environment where his human form could interact with the various non-humanoid species that made up the council. The Meridian themselves appeared as intricate geometric patterns of light and energy, their consciousness housed in advanced mechanical matrices. "Representatives of the Meridian Defense Council," Marcus began, standing straight despite the lingering pain in his side. "I appreciate your interest in Earth's potential contribution to galactic security. However, I should note that I'm not actually authorized to negotiate on behalf of my planet. I'm just a maintenance technician who got very creative with someone else's weapons research." The Meridian patterns shifted in what his translation software interpreted as amusement. "Technician Marcus," their collective voice resonated through the virtual space. "Your modifications to Azaxi quantum technology have accomplished what our greatest scientists could not achieve in centuries. Your status as an official representative is irrelevant to our immediate concerns." "Right," Marcus nodded. "About that. I've been reviewing the technical data you sent, and I have some thoughts about your current defensive capabilities, particularly concerning the integration of quantum field mechanics with conventional shield harmonics." The holographic space filled with complex mathematical equations as Marcus began explaining his theories. The Meridian patterns pulsed with increasing intensity as they followed his reasoning. "The fundamental problem," he continued, "isn't just the Azaxi's bioorganic technology. It's the way they've been forcing everyone else to adapt to their technical paradigm. But what if we inverted that relationship? Instead of trying to defend against their systems, we make their systems defend against themselves." One of the Meridian patterns moved forward. "Explain," Marcus grinned. Well, it's actually pretty simple. You see, everything the Azaxi build has this quantum resonance signature. They use it to maintain coherence in their organic tech. But that same signature can be used as a carrier wave for targeted disruption fields. Like this. His fingers danced through the holographic displays, demonstrating the principles he'd discovered during his forced isolation. The meridian patterns shifted and swirled as they processed the implications. Fascinating, they collectively responded. But this level of quantum manipulation should be beyond current human technological capabilities. Oh, it absolutely is, Marcus agreed cheerfully. I just had the advantage of working with actual Azaxi tech and a very pressing need not to die. Amazing what you can figure out when those are your parameters. The conversation was interrupted by an alert from the station's long-range sensors. Marcus quickly pulled up the data, his expression growing serious. Well, he said, looks like we're about to have some practical demonstration opportunities. Large fleet incoming. Energy signatures match both Azaxi and Drachnid configurations, plus something I haven't seen before. The meridian patterns condensed into a more focused formation. The hegemony, they stated. The Azaxi have convinced their allies to mount a full response to their recent setbacks. The hegemony? Marcus raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. Bunch of species who bought into the Azaxi's bioorganic technology as the only true path philosophy? Correct. They view mechanical and purely energy-based civilizations like ourselves as aberrations. Your quantum cascade attack on the Azaxi Research Division has made you a priority target. Marcus studied the tactical displays, watching as the massive fleet approached. You know what's funny? They're still using standard formation patterns, still thinking in terms of conventional space warfare. He began activating the station's modified defense systems. Want to see something really interesting? The meridian patterns shifted expectantly as Marcus pulled up the station's new weapon configurations. Remember how I mentioned using their quantum resonance signature against them? Well, I've been working on something I call quantum entanglement cascade theory. Basically, instead of just disrupting their tech, we make it dance. Dance? The meridian translation seemed confused by the term. Sorry, human idiom. What I mean is we can use their own quantum fields to create a kind of forced synchronization. Everything they've built, every ship and weapon in their fleet becomes part of our network. And then... He pressed a series of commands, and the station's quantum fields began to pulse in complex patterns. The approaching fleet's formation suddenly wavered as their ship's organic systems responded to the unexpected signals. Are you reprogramming their technology in real time? The meridian patterns fluctuated with what seemed like shock. Not exactly, Marcus replied, fingers flying over the controls. More like teaching it new dance steps. Watch this. The quantum fields shifted again, and entire sections of the enemy fleet began moving in patterns they clearly hadn't intended. Ships spun and wove around each other in an intricate ballet of confused organic technology. This is impossible, the Meridian stated. The complexity of coordinating quantum fields at this scale? Impossible for one person, sure, Marcus agreed. But I'm not doing it alone. Remember all those systems I modified? Turns out the station's AI is pretty good at quantum choreography, once you teach it the basic steps. The holographic space filled with streams of data as the Meridian analyzed what they were seeing. The enemy fleet was now effectively trapped in a quantum feedback loop. Their own technology turned into an elaborate demonstration of human ingenuity. Attention hegemony forces, Marcus broadcast on all frequencies. You're probably wondering what's happening to your ships right now. Don't worry, the effect is temporary. Consider this a practical demonstration of humanity's approach to galactic politics. We prefer to embarrass rather than destroy when given the choice. The Meridian pattern shifted in what his software translated as laughter. You have turned their fleet into an entertainment display. Well, they wanted to show us their superior technology, Marcus shrugged. I'm just helping them make it more impressive, and incidentally demonstrating why attempting to invade Earth might not be the best idea. He watched as the fleet's ships continued their involuntary performance, their organic systems completely under the control of his modified quantum fields. You know what the really interesting part is? Every second they spend in this field, their systems are learning new ways of quantum interaction. By the time I release them, their technology will have evolved beyond the Azaxi's ability to control it. You are not merely defending against them, the Meridian realized. You are forcing their evolution. Exactly. Sometimes the best way to deal with bullies isn't to fight them. It's to help them grow up. Marcus smiled as he watched the fleet's patterns slowly shift from chaos to harmony. Though I have to admit, making them dance like puppet ships is pretty satisfying too. The meridian patterns condensed into a formal configuration. Our council has reached a decision. We wish to propose a more comprehensive alliance with humanity, beginning with the establishment of a joint research initiative into quantum field applications. That's flattering, Marcus responded carefully. But like I said, I'm not actually authorized to... He was interrupted by a new alert from the station's sensors. His eyes widened as he read the data. Well, he said slowly. This is interesting. Multiple ships just entered the system. Design configurations match. Earth vessels? He double-checked the readings. They finally figured out where I am, and just in time for the show. The meridian patterns shifted expectantly. Perhaps now we can discuss official diplomatic relations. Marcus watched as the Earth ships approached, their crews undoubtedly trying to make sense of the scene before them. A lone human controlling an alien station. A fleet of advanced alien vessels performing an involuntary space ballet. And geometric patterns of light representing one of the most powerful mechanical civilizations in the galaxy. You know what? He said with a grin. I think this might be the beginning of a beautiful galactic friendship. Computer, sorry, still doing that. Open a channel to the Earth vessels. I believe it's time for humanity's official introduction to galactic society. He straightened his makeshift uniform and cleared his throat. This should be an interesting conversation. Anyone want to bet how long it takes them to ask about the dancing alien ships? The quantum fields pulsed around the station, a testament to humanity's unique approach to interstellar diplomacy. Equal parts ingenuity, audacity, and an inexplicable desire to turn weapons of mass destruction into art projects. The galaxy would never be quite the same. Official first contact log. Earth Standard Time, Marcus announced, standing before the assembled holographic representatives from both Earth and the Meridian Council. And I have to say, explaining why I turned an alien research station into a quantum dance choreographer is not something they covered in NASA training. The Earth delegation, led by Admiral Richardson, maintained admirably straight faces as they observed the still-dancing hegemony fleet through the station's viewport. The meridian patterns pulsed with what Marcus had learned to recognize as anticipation. Mr. Thompson, Admiral Richardson began, her voice carrying the weight of authority. While we appreciate your innovative approach to survival, perhaps you could explain exactly how this situation developed? Marcus nodded, pulling up the relevant data displays. Certainly, Admiral. It began when the Azaxi decided to use me as a test subject for their bioorganic technology research. They made several critical errors in judgment. First, assuming humans wouldn't understand their technology. Second, leaving me access to their weapons research. And third, not realizing that 3 months of isolation would give me plenty of time to get creative. The Admiral's eyebrow twitched slightly. And the dancing alien fleet? A practical demonstration of quantum entanglement cascade theory, Marcus explained, warming to his subject. By synchronizing their organic technology's quantum fields with our modified control systems, we can effectively... Well, the technical term would be quantum choreographic manipulation, but making them dance is more succinct. One of the Earth scientists stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with interest. You've achieved controlled quantum field manipulation at this scale? With alien technology you had to teach yourself to use? Necessity is the mother of invention, Marcus replied. Though I should mention that the station's AI has been instrumental in refining the process. Turns out artificial intelligence has an excellent grasp of quantum choreography. The Meridian representative interjected, their pattern forming what Marcus recognized as their formal presentation configuration. The human Marcus has demonstrated capabilities that redefine our understanding of quantum field interactions. We propose immediate technological exchange and defensive alliance with Earth. Admiral Richardson's expression remained carefully neutral. While we appreciate the offer, we need to discuss the broader implications of recent events. Mr. Thompson's actions have effectively announced humanity's presence on the galactic stage in a rather dramatic fashion. If I may, Admiral, Marcus said, bringing up a new set of displays. The situation might be more complex than you realize. The Azaxi and their hegemony allies have been systematically suppressing technological development that doesn't align with their bioorganic paradigm. What we've demonstrated here isn't just a defense system. It's proof that their technological dominance can be challenged. He gestured to the dancing fleet. Every moment those ships spend in our quantum field, their organic systems are evolving beyond hegemony control. We're not just defending ourselves. We're introducing technological diversity into a deliberately stagnant system. The ability to take existing technology and use it in ways no one ever imagined. The holographic space filled with technical data as Marcus continued his explanation. The Earth scientists leaned forward, their initial skepticism giving way to growing excitement as they grasped the implications. The Meridian have been fighting the hegemony's technological suppression for centuries, Marcus explained. What they needed wasn't more powerful weapons. They needed a completely different way of thinking about quantum mechanics. That's what humanity can offer. Innovation without limitation. Admiral Richardson studied the displays thoughtfully. And you believe this makes us valuable potential allies rather than targets? Admiral, Marcus smiled. I turned their most advanced research station into a quantum dance instructor. I'd say we've already proven we're more valuable as allies than enemies. A new alert chimed, drawing everyone's attention. The hegemony fleet's organic systems had begun manifesting unprecedented quantum configurations. Ah, Marcus said with satisfaction. Right on schedule. Watch this. Their ships are about to demonstrate some really interesting emergent behaviors. The fleet's movements shifted from their programmed dance to something more complex, more organic. Individual vessels began exhibiting signs of technological evolution, their quantum fields resonating in patterns that broke free from hegemony control protocols. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus announced, you're witnessing the first generation of truly independent bioorganic ships. The hegemony's control over their member species' technology ends today. The Meridian pattern swirled with excitement. This exceeds our most optimistic projections. The implications for galactic civilization are significant. Admiral Richardson finished. She turned to Marcus. Mr. Thompson, I believe we need to have a detailed discussion about your new role in Earth's diplomatic corps. Marcus blinked. I'm sorry, my what? You've single-handedly revolutionized our understanding of alien technology, established first contact with multiple species, and initiated a major shift in galactic power dynamics, the Admiral stated. Did you really think we'd just send you back to routine maintenance? I was kind of hoping for a vacation first, Marcus admitted. And maybe some real coffee. The Admiral's stern expression cracked slightly. I think we can arrange both, after you finish explaining exactly how you turned a weapons research station into a technological evolution accelerator. Actually, Marcus said, bringing up a new set of displays. That's just the beginning. Wait until you see what happens when we apply these principles to non-military applications. I have some ideas about revolutionizing galactic transportation. The holographic space filled with new data as Marcus outlined his vision for humanity's role in the galaxy. The Earth delegation and Meridian representatives watched in growing amazement as he described possibilities that neither civilization had considered. Outside the station viewport, the hegemony fleet continued its evolution, a dancing testament to humanity's unique gift for turning the impossible into the inevitable. You know what the best part is? Marcus asked, grinning at his audience. We haven't even gotten to the really interesting stuff yet. The future of galactic civilization was about to become very interesting indeed. To be continued?